Even that they couldn't pronounce. Especially the Mewatis, round about Delhi. So Tablighi Jamaat worked a lot for them. But they were converting them. So as to reclaim, they were from us, and they must come back. Then the Britishers also, especially the conservatives in England, they broadened this gap and increased the enmity due to their policy of divide and rule. Divide and rule. If they come together, they'll throw us out. Let them fight each other. Divide and rule. So the oil was added to this burning fire by this British policy. And when they left a bone of contention between Bharat and Pakistan, Kashmir. Go on fighting, go on fighting, go on fighting. Remain friends, our friends, both of you. But fight each other. Go on, go on. The same continuation of the divide and rule policy.
I have a couple of things to say. Firstly, I want to go back to your discourse this morning, and very interesting, very informative. What I was trying to reflect on was this, that we are looking at, in this period of 150 years, we are looking at Iqbal, we are looking at the thought of Azad, we are looking at the thought of Maududi, yourself, and others. And I go back to the time of around when Iqbal was born, 1870s, and 1870s I think in some ways also becomes a historically very significant period in the British rule, because that is a time when practically I think in this northwest segment of the country there are several movements that emerged which primarily were a response to the British presence, the British dominance. They did not like the dominance. They were also a response to the Christian missionaries and their work. They maybe to some extent were also protective against the influences of the faiths which already existed within the society, but primarily I think they were defensive. And in that movement there was amongst the Hindus the Arya Samaj movement which started, which became very strong. The Sikhs had the Singh Sabha movement which started. Before that it was the Nirankaris and the Kukas. So the first 1871 the Kukas movement, the Qadianis and the Aligarh movement, all these are the movements which started at that point of time. I see there a trend of the thought that initially emerges from, which is I think informed through the works of all of them, like Iqbal and Azad and even Maududi, where the thought was to find a model or to find identity within a pluralistic setting. You see, now somewhere around 1920, 1930, that period is significant because the rift between Gandhi and Jinnah, which led then ultimately to emergence of another kind of thought of separation. So I am wondering here that if we even go back to 1930 speech of Allama Iqbal, he is talking of a very broad concept of federalism. He is talking of a very broad concept of federalism, true federalism, where the regions have a certain level of freedom and liberty, but they live as a pluralistic entities. Is it possible, in your judgment or in your reflection, that if Nehru and Jinnah had got along, we would not be thinking of so many of these things here today?
Well, these ifs, they can have so many answers.
Yes.
And what I want to point out is that what you are saying about Iqbal is partially true. Because at that time, he could never think of independence from the Britishers. So what he was seeking at that time was the grouping of the provinces on the basis of population. So there should be one province of Muslim majority, So that was practical, pragmatic. But then he said in the same lecture, for me it is destiny that an independent Muslim state will exist and be established in the northwest of India. But that was not a proposal. On those conditions, nobody could think that Britishers will go. Had not the Second World War happened, the Britishers would have never gone from here.
Dr. Mumtaz Ahmed.
Israr Sahib, you left the Jamaat-e-Islami in the 1950s, and I happen to have read your statement that you delivered at Machi God Ijtima, and I must admit that it's the most articulate and profoundly argued statement with wit and sarcasm and also with passion, and even today I think it remains probably the best critique of the turnaround of the Jamaat-e-Islami. I have two questions. Did you at any time after you left the Jamaat had the opportunity of meeting Maulana Maududi and discussing with him the issues that divided you? Secondly, at the same time or around that time, both Maulana Wahiduddin Ahmed and Maulana Amin Hasan Islai also left the Jamaat-e-Islami. How is your position different from the position taken by these two other stalwarts of the Jamaat? And thirdly,
it will be difficult for me to remember.
Go ahead. But please do remember I have a third
question, not a question paper. First of all, I didn't meet Maulana Maududi for 5 years after leaving Jamaat-e-Islami. But in 1962, I was going for Hajj for the first time. So I came over to Lahore from Montgomery. 1962. That was my first Hajj. So I came and talked to him. That Maulana, my difference stands where it was. Rather, it is more intense. But I love you. I am thankful to you because you gave us the idea and all that. So I want that you also clear your heart from my side. He said, I have nothing in my heart against you. But then, that was not the time for discussion. I tried to discuss because when I went to Hajj, he also came because, the founding session of Rabatatul Alam al-Islami was going to be held. After I left, he was invited. So I met him in Makkah, in Mina, in Medina, and wanted to discuss with him. I said, Maulana, do you not up till now think that some mistake has been? So he was furious. He said, the same question I'm asking you. Have you not up till now understood your mistake? So I stopped. Number one. Number two was Wahiduddin and Maulana Islai. Maulana Islai was 100% in agreement with me. But his position was that had Maulana Maududi kept the environment of mutual consultation, we would not have left Jamaat-e-Islami. So leaving Jamaat is something else and the difference of opinion is something else. As for Wahiduddin Khan, he actually attacks the basic thought of Iqamatuddin. So he has differed and gone away from the basic ideology of Jamaat-e-Islami, but not Maulana Islai.
Thank you.
I also wish to say that I enjoyed today's talk a great deal and I learned from it. I understand even better, I think, your desire for and your aim to have an Islamic state. And I understand better also why you do not accept Muslims and really Islam only being given in states